experiences, but I also just want to move on to Excellency Kostanian. From your perspectives, you're Deputy Foreign Minister of Armenia, you've previously worked as an advisor to the President of the National Assembly in Armenia, and of course the region that you're in is highly affected by climate, peace and security risks in similar but also different ways. But maybe you can reflect a little on how peace processes can and should integrate climate change considerations when we all know that they're already so hard as it is, and just bringing an additional theme and topic to the table. Can they present opportunities, or is it, the last straw?
Hello. Thank you very much for this opportunity to elaborate on a very important topic. And a couple of years ago, UN Secretary General said that climate change is moving faster than we are. Mm-hmm. Probably today we can add that the security threats are getting more and moving faster than we are. And at the end of the day, dealing with all the issues, starting from the climate to security, this is a matter of political will and political choice, where we want to stand. Here, probably the message which I'm bringing from my capital is the time to act is now. And responding to what Minister said on Armenia-Azerbaijan normalization relations, the message coming from Yerevan is also clear. We are ready to take concrete actions now. And we do believe that COP29 is a good opportunity where the whole world will be gathered, and we believe that the Armenia-Azerbaijan peace treaty can be signed before COP29, and to this end the government of Armenia is making very sincere efforts, and we are bold with our stance that it's time to act now. Just to remind the decision how the COP29 was agreed to be hosted in Baku. This was a very important confidence-building measure between the two governments of Armenia and Azerbaijan, because it was both of our governments who introduced a candidacy for hosting COP29. And as a confidence-building measure, Armenia decided to withdraw its candidacy and support Azerbaijani candidacy. Of course, a part of this confidence-building measure was also release of 32 Armenian detainees from Azerbaijan, where unfortunately we continue to have still 23. But coming to the issue of climate, but also security, there is very important layer that we haven't touched so far. This is layer on humans, because everything is political, but at the end of the day, everything touches to the lives of every citizen living in every of our countries in the globe in general. Mm-hmm. And I do believe when we are talking about the issues, very important issues that we have to address and have to address now, on climate, on security, on disaster risk management, etc., etc., what we need to take into account and bring to the scope always is human rights. Mm-hmm. Because this is a basic and fundamental human right to live in a safe environment, to live in a secure environment. And it's very important when it comes to dialogue on peace, on climate, to have different groups attending the dialogue and coming to this dialogue from human rights perspective. Yeah. And I do believe that civil society, women, youth need to have their say, and they also need to, in a way, push the governments so that they act and do not lose time to act properly, to get engaged in peace negotiations in good faith, to demonstrate for political power, to close the pages of violence and the conflicts and not to leave it for the next generation.
I couldn't agree more, and we're delighted to have Helen Hekena joining us. And Helen, I will come to you in a moment, but you mentioned, Ambassador Kostanian, a fantastic example of climate diplomacy in action with Armenia withdrawing its candidacy for the COP presidency. Do you have any other examples of how climate change has offered up spaces for engagement where perhaps diplomatic channels were previously blocked?
Thank you very much. Just to add that in the text of a peace treaty that we are currently negotiating with Azerbaijan, we intend to establish different bilateral commissions. And one of the commissions that hopefully will be established once the peace treaty is signed will be on environment. Mm-hmm. Probably that also demonstrates the importance of the topic for both countries. Mm-hmm. And our example, which is very interesting to bring, is related to our other neighbor, Turkey, with whom we also don't have diplomatic relations, and there were periods when we didn't even have a political dialogue. But actually one of the very rare areas where dialogue and conversations between Armenia and Turkey was continuing during this whole 30 years was on water management. Because we are sharing water resources on our border, and even regardless of the fact that there are no diplomatic relations, there are no other channels of communication, putting human lives first, this helped to keep some level of dialogue, some level of engagement. And I do believe that this is a very bright example to share with this esteemed audience.
Thank you. Deputy Minister, is this something that you think is only kind of a regionally specific thing? Is it something that resonates with you for your neighbourhood, or do you think it's something that is just very contextual and maybe is more relevant for the Horn of Africa? You know, when it comes to really being able to address some of these challenges and transform them into opportunities for cooperation across borders.
Well, of course, all the regions are unique and the conflicts are unique, but again, coming to what I said previously, when we're talking about humans and human stories, this is the common denominator for all the stories, and probably here experiences and successful experiences from our regions can be very, very important and useful.
Do you think there's much knowledge about this?
In our case, during recent 2-3 years, our region was facing floods, which was something new, and it didn't happen at least in recent history. And this also gave an interesting opportunity for cooperation with different neighbors in the region. But actually this brings to theoretical question why neighbors should cooperate only facing disasters. So does it a horror of disaster that should make people to cooperate, to share some empathy? To me personally, this is quite a pity. For example, when Armenian-Turkish border is closed and it was opened only for Armenia sending humanitarian aid to Turkey, which I do believe was a right gesture to do to our neighbors. But why this border is closed during, let's say, normal days? Why why it should be and why this cooperation, regional cooperation, should become disaster risk response rather than creating a positive agenda for our citizens.
But I would like to just ask each of you one last question. As I mentioned at the beginning, I personally have been met with kind of these blank faces of we're dealing with peace. Why should we think about climate change? What would be the one thing that each of you would like to be the response to those people working on, hard peace negotiations and political settlements, to help understand why climate change and environmental considerations should be part of any peace mediation or political settlement?
Tackling the climate issues is objective itself, but it's to tackle it together globally. It's also a tool for confidence building and peace building. But there is also another side of the coin. If we are not doing it today, then it will become a weapon for new conflicts.
Yeah, thank you. Powerful.